Hi guys, I wanted to show you how to get started with React and Firebase. What I'm going to do is set up a simple Firebase project and a simple React app that talks to that project. That's the idea. So let's say Swin 200 test is the name of my project. I'm going to just go ahead and enable Google Analytics. I'm going to select my account. This is my personal account. If Because of the way Google projects work at UIndy, I've already created a Firebase project for you at UIndy to use, and I'll explain that. I'm creating this project just to show you the steps, but I'm going to immediately throw it away as soon as I'm done showing you. But you'll obviously keep the project to do the assignments for the semester. So my project is ready. The first thing I'm going to do is create a web app. So I'm going to click on, so this is going to be Swin 200 test web, and I'm going to set up Firebase hosting. Okay, next I want to add Firebase, so I'm just going to copy this command. I'm going to create a fresh directory. I'm going to go to temp, and I'm going to say npx create react app. We're going to call it Firebase test, and we're going to use the TypeScript template. So let me make this screen a little bit bigger. There you go. So that's going to go ahead and set up a Create React app. And then once I'm in there, I'm going to go ahead and install Firebase. And I guess while it's doing that, you couldn't see the whole command line when I typed it in. So there you go. There's the whole command line with its npx create react app Firebase test. Template is TypeScript. Okay. Didn't realize my head was blocking the screen, so that's no good. Okay, so that finished. Let's go ahead and change directory into that guy. And just to make sure everything's got its head screwed on, let's go ahead and run the default app. So this is just going to be the spinning logo and the links for support for React. We don't have any Firebase in there yet. And there you have it. So there's our default React app. What I want to do now is shut that guy down. Let's go ahead and open code and take a look at what's there. I trust the authors. And in the source, actually, let's look at the package.json. You can see there's no Firebase here. So let's go ahead and just open an internal terminal window in VS Code. And maybe I'll bump the font up just a little bit. Make it easier for you guys to see. Okay, so we're going to say yarn add Firebase. Okay, so now we've got Firebase. Let's go ahead back to Firebase window. You'll notice that there is this code that they give you. So I'm just going to copy that guy. And now there's different opinions about this. Some folks say you shouldn't check this code with API keys and stuff into the repository. Other folks say it's no big deal because it's publicly available anyway. When the people get your app, they are going to see these keys. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. You can look at the various arguments one way or the other. But we can just save this in a TypeScript file in our directory and we're going to invoke it to get Firebase going. But we do need to export these guys. Actually, I'm just going to leave analytics out for now. We don't really need it yet. You can add that in later when you're ready. But one thing we do need is the database. So, and Copilot is trying to help me out here. Really, I think we're going to use a different method from the Firebase. So I'm going to say it's from the Firebase library, basically. Import, and it's going to be get Firestore from Firebase Firestore, and we're going to use the light version. Hello. The only difference between the regular and the light is some of the it's a much, well, first of all, it's a much lower package size, so it makes your app load a lot faster. But it does leave out some features. We can talk about those, but for now, I think it's okay. We're going to just go with this version, and so DB is going to be the variable that we use to get the database. If we need the app, we'll load up app. So let's go ahead into app.tsx. We're not going to need the logo. Get rid of that guy. We're going to get rid of all this junk because we don't need it. And let's go ahead and then we're going to change the test. There's the test is going to fail now because the text is no longer there. So we're just going to get rid of this. Actually, we don't even need a test at the moment. We'll come back later and see about adding something to the test to make it to assert something meaningful. But for now, let's just get rid of it so it's not complaining that the tests are failing all the time. Okay. So now let's head over to the app. I want to, let's see, we're going to import some stuff from the Firebase Lite. We need Firestore. We need collection. We need get docs. And we need, and that's it. Sorry, from Firebase Firestore Lite again. And what's the problem with that? Firebase, oh. There we go. Okay. And I want to develop an interface. So let's go ahead and make a TypeScript interface for an event. Should we make it a Academy event? Because it's the Academy event database we're building here. ID is going to be a string. And this is an interface, so it needs commas. So description, sorry, GitHub Copilot. Description is going to be a string. Start is going to be a date. End is going to be a date. Thank you, Copilot. And then we need to be able to fetch these guys. So let's actually start with the app, and we'll go back to get to set up the fetching. So that's actually not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. Academy events is going to be a list of Academy events, and we can just use that as it is. Okay, so here's the basic structure of the thing. We've defined an Academy event. We've got an app that's going to keep the Academy events as part of its state. And then we're going to, and this is just as a demo to sort of show you how you get data from Firestore. There's different ways of handling state, and we can talk about that as well. But for now, let's just grab the events and display them. And so the use effect is a hook in React that gets invoked whenever its dependencies change. In this case, we're going to keep the dependencies empty. So it's just going to get invoked once when the app is mounted. And there are no dependencies, so it'll never get called again. But in order to get the data, we need to define a function that's going to actually do that job. So The idea of this one is that this is the glue that's gonna connect the use effect to Firebase. Now, later, if you wanted to switch to a different backend or have a different database, you could always change this function to go to get that data from some alternative database. And there are some cool frameworks for handling all kinds of data synchronization issues that we can also talk about. But for today, let's just create a function let's call it get academy events. That's fine. It's gonna wow, how is it doing? Let's go ahead and accept that for now, but I want to, uh, so that was Copilot giving me some code. It's not quite right because DB I've gotten from another place. And getDocs actually, um, it takes the database, takes the collection, which requires the database and events. So it hasn't quite got the syntax right. Let's see, hang on. Cannot find the name DB. Didn't we import that? Ah, okay. We haven't imported everything yet. So let's go back up and let's delete this. This came from Copilot trying to read my mind. It didn't work. Okay, we're going to import the database not from Firebase Firestore Lite. No, Copilot. It's actually going to come from /load Firebase. Nope. There you go. Okay, and then that now works down here. Database is a Firestore. We got it from load Firebase, which you remember is the function here where we called get Firestore on the app. Get Firestore we got from Firebase Firestore Lite. Okay. Now what we want to do is we don't map events. A snapshot has docs. It has a docs property. And everything is looking pretty good. Let's see, hang on a second. I want to actually modify this just a little bit. So I'm going to say data, const data equals event.data. That looks good. And then this is going to be doc ID, event.id, and then this is going to just become data.description. This is going to become data.start almost. We'll fix this up here in a second. Data.end. What else am I missing? Okay, so it turns out we're getting start from Firebase, and it's not actually a date object, it's a timestamp object. So we need to call toDate on that guy to convert it to a JavaScript object. So there we have it. So this is going to get the events from a collection called events. It's going to take the documents from that event, map them to convert the Firebase documents into our Academy event interface, and then return those guys. So let's see, what's the problem here? Oh, do we have app twice? We have app twice. Let's get rid of this. I didn't do all that. That was Copilot's writing too much code here. I didn't ask it to do that. Okay. So now in our use effect, we're going to call get academy events. So let's do that. So get academy, what do we call it? Oh no, we just called it get events. Okay, never mind. I thought we called it get academy events. Okay, get events. We're going to pass in the database, right? No. Okay. It's Firestore. And then it's going to return it's a promise, right? So then it's going to return data, and we're going to say set Academy events with that data, and that's it. Okay, so Academy events is getting set with the data that comes from get events. Get events is the thing that goes out to the Firestore collection and gets the events. And then once the events are set, of course, I can display them. So all I want to do here is just to make a simple span. We can do that. Academy events, make a span here. I can't type. And in the span, I'm just going to put JSON stringify Academy events. There you go. And that should bring out a stringified version of the events that have been set by the use effect. So the order of operations here is the app loads, it invokes the use effect registers a data handler that is invoked when the promise is fulfilled. The promise gets fulfilled when the getDocs method returns and this map occurs. So it's all asynchronous stuff. If you have questions about that, let me know. But basically, this should display a JSON stringified version of the Academy events in the window. So let's take a look. I'm going to go ahead and yarn start this thing. We'll go back to the files here and see how we're doing. Of course, I'm going to allow that. Okay, so that installed the Firebase command line tools, which you'll need in a minute, but let's pop back to our installation of Firebase. I went ahead and just clicked through the installation, but you'll notice that I don't have a database yet. I don't even have anything going. So I need to create a Firestore database. I'm going to start in test mode just because I don't want to deal with security rules at this moment, but understand that that means in a month it'll reject all requests. So if you want to start in production mode, you can start setting up rules right away. I'm going to post a separate, or at least I'll point you guys to documentation about how you establish security rules and how they work. But for the moment, let's just start in test mode. And I'm going to choose the central region for my database. And that at least should allow me to connect them. Okay, so now I have my database set up. Let's go ahead and run that yarn start again. See if it lets me in now. Notice I haven't created any data yet. I don't even have a collection called events, so I shouldn't actually get any data. What's it saying now? Get events. It looks like it got nothing. So let's go create that collection and see how we're doing. We're going to start a collection. We're going to call the collection events. We're going to get an automatic ID. Let's start with a description. And it's going to be, this is my event. We're going to add a start, which is going to be a timestamp. And let's go ahead and make it the 27th of May at what? 0900. And hang on 1 minute, I've got to add another field. Let's make the end a timestamp. And let's make it the 27th of May at 1100. Okay. So now we've got start at 900, end at 1100, description, this is my event. Let's go back and look. refresh this thing. There it is. It's got an ID, it's got a description, it's got a start, it's got an end, and those are my events. So the events are there. I'm getting them from Firebase, and that's the way it works.